28 years later is the third film in this franchise. We haven't seen a new one since 2007. This is a highly anticipated sequel, once again directed by Danny Boyle. The film is about a group of survivors of the rage virus that lives on a small island. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors. The first time I heard about 28 Days Later, the very first film, people weren't talking just about the fact that it was shot on mini DV. They were talking about the fact that fast zombies could run and just kill you really quickly, and it was horrifying. And I remember the first time I saw the movie being really arrested by the digital and grainy look of video and how it made it feel like you were watching CCTV footage of these events. The second film, 28 Weeks Later, not a bad movie at all. I really enjoy that one too. And then it just stopped. They just kind of stopped making them for a long time. Alex Garland returns as writer, Danny Boyle once again behind the mini iPhone cameras, as has been talked about quite often. I really like this movie a lot. I thought it was incredibly tense. Boyle's use of sound design, score, hyperactive editing, and very unique camera choices is not something we're strangers to, but it was nice to see that there was nothing about the passage of time that has changed his approach to how he's going to make one of these movies, because it feels just as intense as that first film. This being shot on an iPhone is something you're going to hear a lot about. And no, it's not like they're there just like holding up the iPhone that you may or may not have in your pocket and making a movie like that. They've got like really expensive lenses and rigs. Yes, technically an iPhone recorded these events, but I always kind of back away when people are like, yeah, we shot the movie with an iPhone. I'm like, but it makes it sound like you grabbed it out of your pocket and just like made the movie. There are sequences that do look like that. There's some indoor scenes where you're getting that ghost trail effect that iPhones sometimes do in low light situations. But for the action sequences out in the wilderness being chased by hordes of infected, and something that's a bit Matrixy that they're doing with some of the kills, you've probably seen this rig posted around. It's like a semicircle of iPhones that are creating a very Matrix-like effect, almost like bullet time except with an arrow. And it made for some really amazing kills. Aaron Taylor-Johnson is very good in the movie, as is Ralph Fiennes and Jodie Comer. But the standout of this film is Alfie Williams, who plays Spike. This is one of the best child performances I've seen in a very long time. I thought he was absolutely magnificent. So real, I bought every single emotion from him, never once thought he was fake, and he's put into all different types of situations. Very intense action sequences, lots of running, lots of chasing, screaming, crying, but he has to be really real in some very raw moments with his father, played by Aaron Taylor-Johnson, where he's learning things about his dad he doesn't necessarily want to know. One of my favorite aspects of this movie is the hero worship of the father figure, and then bringing that down to a more realistic place where you watch a young boy realize that their dad is not perfect. I knew Boyle would not direct a zombie movie just to make a zombie movie, nor would Garland write one just to write one. They are obviously exploring a lot of really interesting family dynamics here amongst all of the chaos, and they do new things with the infected too. I didn't know about some of these things, so I don't want to get into any spoilers for you. I want you to have a really fresh experience, but there is a choice they've made with the infected here that makes them so much scarier in one very specific way that created one of the most white-knuckled moments I've had in a theater in quite some time. It was so tense, in fact, that it did a disservice to things afterwards. It was a bit of like the Ghost Protocol effect, where you've got the Burj Khalifa scene, and it's so incredible, and nothing else in the film is going to be quite as tense as that, even though that whole movie's awesome. That movie peaked during that scene, and there is a moment in this movie that is so incredibly tense, and it never quite gets back to that level, but it's still really good all the way through. And I'm a tough sell on hyperactive editing and shaky camera work. I think you have to be quite skilled to pull that off and have it not look ugly and have it not look like you didn't try hard enough and you're masking errors by saving it with, shaky cam and quick cuts. But Boyle and Paul Greengrass are two filmmakers that excel at this. And again, the use of sound. There's that very disturbing poem that was in the trailer that was like from the early 1900s that's in the actual film, thank goodness, because I was like, that's a really effective marketing campaign. I was glad it was actually in the movie, and it's utilized in a way that makes certain sequences feel somewhat dreamlike. You're flashing back and forward to events that the characters didn't necessarily witness to learn about a backstory about what the infected did to a deer in the middle of the night. And you're seeing really quick, disturbing shots of this, almost in like a night vision look, but it's all red. I found it like ugly beautiful. It's like where it's purposefully looks really raw and unprofessional, and in the process of that creates something that looks astoundingly beautiful. And that's not going to be everyone's experience. I talked to a few people after the screening and it wasn't for them. And I get that. Boyle has a very aggressive way of cutting and making films and making you as the audience member digest the information. But this one felt risky to me. It felt like, just like 28 Days Later, it didn't feel like he made some sequel just to cash in on it. It really did feel like him and Garland were like, let's restart this franchise, yeah, but we're going to do it our way, and we're going to make it bold, and we're going to have some choices in here that are difficult, and we're going to have some really gnarly imagery that some people aren't necessarily going to love, and some choices from the opening scene where you're like, okay, yeah, I think all bets are off because they're going to go there. I think ultimately, like for me, just on one viewing and trying to digest all the information, this felt like a movie about a child discovering truths about their parents that make them feel uncomfortable, and having to come to terms with the fact that their parents aren't perfect and that they're going to have to make their own way in the world. And unfortunately, that world is filled with a bunch of infected people. And somehow the movie was able to maintain a vibe of general fun. It was an enjoyable watch for me. Now, granted, I watch a lot of weird stuff, but like this movie felt really like I could eat popcorn while watching some very horrific things that are in this film. I don't know what it is. It's a tone thing, and it really worked for me. I had a great time with it, and I cannot wait to see the second one, which is being directed by, I believe, Nia DaCosta. So yeah, I'm really pumped to see more in this universe. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon. I'm curious to know what you thought of 28 Years Later when you see it. Thank you guys, as always, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.